Welcome along, everybody. We are back for more action, but typically this week we are trying to get stuff sorted and, of course, not in the right situation at the right time as per usual. But we'll get started in just a jiffy, just setting up the lobby quickly because we've had the lobby restart before the lobby started. So there we go. Yeah, just getting everything quickly sorted, and we can get ourselves ready to get going here. But bear with us 1 second. It's the second round of season 9 of bronze. Then we are ready to, almost ready, hopefully, to get started. And fingers crossed we can actually get on with it this time. And right then, we've been told to set it to dry apparently, so bear me 1 second and we'll have a nice and dry Grand Prix. There we go, perfect stuff indeed. Cracking on then, we'll get on with it, fingers crossed this time, and just waiting for everyone to get themselves back in the lobby as well. And right then, fingers crossed we can get started at some point tonight, but who knows? After all the shenanigans that have gone on this week, we will find out then at the end of the stream, fingers crossed. But at least this time we've got commentary, and we can actually get on with it. But yeah, just waiting for the last couple of drivers to get themselves into the lobby, and then we can crack on then. Right then. We'll crack on with this race then and get on with it because, right, we might as well get on with it now because the other drivers can just join in qualifying now, to be fair. Yes, we are going to crack on with China then, of course, second round of the season, then a fantastic opening round for bronze last week in Australia, and that was absolutely brilliant stuff indeed. I can't remember who won. It was Luke, actually, in the kick-sauber then, and we can crack on then with the start of this race. I'm going to go back into the stream, into the comment section and see what's going on then. Going to start at the back and let people go lap 1 then. Yo says Formula Moments as well then. Good luck indeed. Good stuff indeed. Don't have to do that on FIFA. Come back on. Yeah, to be fair, I'm already getting fed up with this week. Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Then we're still waiting for 3 people, sorry, to join the lobby, and yeah, hopefully they can get on with it so we can get started. Right then, just about to get ourselves underway. We're waiting for a Mercedes. We're waiting for, which I believe is Umabro. We're waiting for Williams, which I believe is Corey Brennan, and we're waiting for a Visa Cash App, which I believe is Collateral Zoom, who's reserving in place of Ginger Age, who's unfortunately having to work this week, which is why he missed the stream last night as well then. Good stuff indeed. Right then, we're, well, fingers crossed at some point today we'll get started, but unless nothing else happens, I'll just ramble on for a bit then, and yeah, there you go. Yeah, fingers crossed we can crack on then in just a jiffy then. We have got 1 driver joining us, then that's 2 to go now, and yes, only a few minutes late as well then, so that's cracking stuff indeed then. Right then, we will hopefully get ourselves started at some point tonight, and we'll crack on then with a qualifying session, of course, then a 18-minute qualifying session to set the grid then, and then we'll crack on with 28 laps of Chinese action as well then, so won't be too long, I hope, but yes, fingers crossed we can get started. I think we've had about 3 lobbies already tonight, so that's fantastic. Hello, says Beast as well. Then, of course, Beast then, a champion then for Silver Season 8 then, is in the comment section tonight then. I think I'm going to have to, I'm going to be doing about a commentary's worth of commentating before we even start this one, which is absolutely fantastic. Like Kiki said, I'd rather be playing FIFA then. So, yes, there we are then. I've done all my FIFA objectives then, so I can now focus on the objective of this Grand Prix, and yes, right. Oh, somebody else has joined. That's good. Oh, he's joined then. Fantastic. Then he's in the racing ball then tonight, reserving in place of Ginger Age, like I said. Who is next? I think is we're waiting for Williams now, and that is somebody else then. So once we get themselves sorted, we don't need anyone to join. Thanks, we're all sorted. It's just we're having to restart the grid, restart the lobby, I should say then, because we had some sort of technical issue then at the beginning of the lobby as well then. So wouldn't be an ALR race without it at the moment. So there we go. Fantastic stuff indeed, and fingers crossed at some point tonight we'll get started, but it won't be too long then. We've got, of course, a qualifying then to go through then. Of course, in the championship standings then, Luke is leading the way then with his victory then in Australia last week. And who's next? Somebody else is next as well. Then I can't even get the standings up. I might as well have the chance to go through all the standings by the time we get this lobby started anyway then. So there we go then. Rocket Lee in P2 for the Williams team. 18 points scored last week, of course. He came second, then just behind Luke. Then, of course, he got that penalty then on the final corner, then that cemented his place in P2. Then Dynamo Dan picked up the final podium place then for Red Bull last week, and of course rounds off the top three then in the championship standings as it is. Of course, Dan then last season's former he was P3 in the championship standings. That was currently P4, then P4 in Australia, then 12 points for the Alpine driver then, of course, who stayed in the Alpine team from last season as well then. And of course, if you weren't aware then, the point system has changed for bronze as well then. So all the top 15, so long as they are in the car, they're not DNF'd and they're not ghosting, then the top 15 will score points then in the Grand Prix as well then for bronze. In the constructors, then we'll have a quick look. Then, of course, Luke and Smithy lead the way then with 28 points in the kick sour. Then the green machine. Then finally, Corey Brennan has woken up and joined us, and we can hopefully start off this race this time now. Fingers crossed, everything goes all right then on this lobby. Otherwise, I think I'm going to throw everything out of the window. But there we go then. Williams then P2 then in the constructors. That is, of course, with Rocket Lee and Corey Brennan then 26 points, only 2 points behind the kick Sauber team. You almost say kick Alpine there for Mushroom. Red Bull then in P3 with Dynamo Dan then making up the total tally then for himself, and Real Ashton then in P3 then 15 points for Red Bull. Then Alpine then on in P4 then with 12 points. Then we've got Aston Martin and McLaren in P5 and P6 then 11 points shared between them in the first round. 10 points for Haas then in P7. 7 points for Racing Bulls then, of course. Unfortunately for Jake the Slayer, he couldn't join the session last week, and we had to get a reserve in last minute then, but some sort of technical difficulties. Then this time we've got more technical difficulties then, and hopefully this time we can get ourselves underway as we get ourselves started in Ferrari then 6 points, and jointly in P9 with Mercedes then, who are currently 10th, but technically on a P9 at the same point, with 6 points then a joint for the Ferrari and Mercedes team. Good stuff indeed. Right then, we can get ourselves cracking then once again, back underway then. Good luck, Bronze then, Stephen. Good evening from George Morgan as well then. I need to message you back on Instagram, but I will do that after this stream, I promise. Yeah, hopefully we can get ourselves started this time, and with no issues as well then. But fingers crossed we can at least get something underway. Who knows at this point, to be fair. Yeah. Good stuff indeed. Right then. Has it started? Will it start? Then it's got a countdown. We've got a countdown. At least I think we're almost there. Have we got it ourselves there then? Oh, I think we've got it. I think we've got a qualifying session underway then. That is brilliant stuff indeed. And, well, unless I'll jinx it again then probably, won't I? But, yeah, fingers crossed we're good. Luke Chapman has said, totally going to win this one, guys. Says the kick Sauber driver, of course, with the victory last week in Australia, the opening round of the season, and looking pretty good indeed then for the green machine then. Yo again says, oh no, what's happened? Oh no, I thought Jake the Slayer had an issue then, another issue then. But no, he seems to be all right. He's in the car. He's in the lobby at least. But fingers crossed he can take to the track this time as well. Of course, last week wasn't the case either. Then was it? We have got some track action then. I think we've got a Ferrari then leading away. Have we got everybody in the lobby? I think we've got everybody in the lobby that needs to be in their cars. And Casey then out on track is the first man in the action, I should say then, or taking us through the action, I should say, in qualifying in the Scarlet Red Ferrari, then flying through Sector 1 then to start off the outlap. Then we've got a Red Bull behind us of Real Ashton, Umabro then in the Mercedes, then starting off a lap as well then very soon. So good stuff. It looks like, thankfully, it looks like we've got everybody in the lobby this time. Evening Boss says, Kamara Racer, you can even to yourself, boss, as well, because I am not a boss. I am just a commentator tonight. All the bosses are out on track then, as it seems, then, well, for me anyway, because they are putting us through the action and showing us the pace that Bronze has got then, and showing us the absolute ability that we've got here as well then tonight. Then a very fantastic, I keep saying it, but it was a fantastic opening round of the season for Bronze last week. And hopefully they can carry on the form then here in Shanghai then for this epic Grand Prix as well. Then evening, lads, says Vintage, and evening to me as well. Then, but evening to you, Vintage. And thank you very much for Vintage as well. Then he jumped in last minute as well last night to try and get the comms done at least. But he did spend about an hour and a half commentating last night. Did Vintage and Smithy then, but to no avail. Then unfortunately, then there was no audio from the party chat for whatever reason. So blame PlayStation for the lack of true Geordie comms then, but the true Geordie was in the comms box last night, and I did jump in and listen to him, and he was fantastic, of course. Yeah, so hopefully true Geordie will be back very soon, and we will get some more commentary then from Vintage and of course from Smithy as well. Hopefully next time we can hear Smithy as well, which will be good, because it was Smithy's first attempt at qualifying as Real Ashton has had he's back in the pit lane, and he's not qualified, doesn't look like them for Real Ashton, unfortunately, but we'll hopefully see what we can do then in the Grand Prix. The yellow flags fluttering on the main straight, then that is for the Red Bull, then just retiring in the pit lane as a Haas then getting in the way, I think, then of a Red Bull behind us as well. Then that was dodgy stuff. No, it's Dynamo down on the outlap, then never mind, it's all good. We'll stay on board with Casey then coming through sector 2 then in the Ferrari. Then let's see what Casey can do then on his first attempt in qualifying here, then flying through sector 2, then making sure you get those entry points to the cut to those corners right as well then, because it can benefit you massively then on your lap as well then. Now we've got him coming into Sector 3, then Purple, of course, in Sector 2, because he's the first man on track to set a lap time in anger then here tonight so far in this qualifying session. Then round the spoon curve, then heading on to the back straight. Then there's a nice long run then. I think it's over a kilometre down towards the hairpin here, and flying at full neck speed, or breakneck speed then, with DRS and ERS assistance as well. Then heading into the hairpin corner then to finish off the lap. Then the penultimate corner of the lap as well here, and making sure we get that braking point right then, and nailing that braking point indeed then for the Ferrari driver. Then now onto the power as well, then heading into the final corner. Then let's see what the Ferrari driver can do round the final corner. We go then, not going he's gone over the curve a bit too much then, I think. 32.4 then for Casey then to set himself underway then in this qualifying, set ourselves underway in qualifying, I should say as well then. Mr. Reed then heading down the main straight as well to start off his lap. Then there is a lot of Mercedes drivers there. There's a lot of Mercedes drivers there. You mad, bro. He was, I think, catching up to the drivers, then finishing off their outlaps then, wasn't he? So he's got himself sorted. Then P2 for him, with that 33.0 then for you mad, bro. And then where is the McLaren of Ginner? Ginner then up into a 31.6 then for the McLaren. Then, of course, he's been putting into practice already. Of course, missed last week then with his holiday. Oh dear, he seems to be jumping around a bit then in the McLaren. But he is looking to, of course, start off his season tonight, I should say, after missing the first round of the season as well. But looking good so far. Then a 31.6 to beat then from the McLaren of Ginner. Then fantastic. Father said, finally, that was not fun. Then Luke Chapman's been gifted a membership then from Vintage. Then thank you very much for Vintage, and you are a star indeed. Then woo, thanks Vintage as well. Then says Luke. Then and good race and good chatting with Mr. Smithy as well. Then says Vintage as well. Brilliant stuff. Corey Brennan's done a 31.8. Then puts himself P2. Then onto the front row of the grid. Then displacing Casey and you mad bro. Sorry, down one place. Then to Kanko going for another attempt as well here. Styles heading onto the back straight. We've got quite a few drivers then heading towards that final couple of corners. Where's the other Ferrari? No, I think it might be. No, it's not DeCanco. Then he's starting off a lap now as well. Then so we'll come back to that. Then we've got a Haas of Mr. Elite. Then Mr. Elite is trying to finish off his lap. That Ferrari is heading back into the pit lane, but I think he's just about got himself out of the way then of Mr. Elite. Then flying across the line then to finish off his first lap. Then a 32.0 puts himself P3 for the time being. Then Dynamo Dan at 32.2 puts himself on the second row of the grid. Then into P4. Then Hungry Stars P6. Then onto the third row of the grid. Then Umabro then stays P7. Then where I think unfortunately for IRS. He has invalidated his time somewhere then, because unfortunately that time did not stand then for IRS. So he's going to have to go around again or come back into the pit lane and go again then later on in this session. But there's still time on the board then for the second Mercedes driver then as it stands then into the final corners for Dukanko. Then he's got some ERS, he's got some DRS now to play with then in the next few meters. Then there it is then activating then on the back of that rear wing for the Ferrari, then flying down towards the hairpin now. 12 minutes left of the qualifying session. Can Dukanko improve on a 38.3? I'm pretty sure he can, as I know for a fact that Dukanko then can go a bit faster than that one. But let's see what he can do then on his second attempt, then flying through the final corner, then making sure you get that right then and not going too wide over that curve then, because it can bottom out the car. Then P5 then for Dukanko, then a 32.4 puts himself onto the third row with his teammate then. So it's an all Ferrari row 3 as it stands at the moment as well. Fantastic stuff indeed for Ferrari. Dynamo down then, and I think Mr. Elite coming back into the pit lane after finishing their laps then. Hungry Styles Looks like he might have gone for a second attempt here. He's going to have a bit of a toe then down the back straight as well here from who I'm not sure if he's coming back into the pit lane or not then. But either way then, Styles is getting a nice toe then from a Mercedes and I think of IRS then heading into the final couple of corners. And I'm not sure if they're just racing each other back to the pit lane here, but oh dear. My goodness me. I'm not sure if Styles was on a lap, then that would be, I think that's going to be very problematic indeed then for the Mercedes driver. I think it's going to be cause for impeding then, but my God. That is how to not do the pit entry then, let's just say that from Styles' point of view. There we go, good stuff. Right, even though all suffering with COVID, then says Mushroom, but try my best then. Good luck, Mushroom. Of course, I've raced with COVID plenty of times already. It seems well, in my lifetime, it seems it's been too often. But yeah, it feels horrible, doesn't it? But hopefully you can power through. Indeed, for Mushroom, then even in Mushroom as well from Vintage then, and race time finally says ALR Esports as well. Then finally we've got race time indeed. Then, which is what I don't think anybody's called it race time ever in their lives, have they? Goodness me, that Williams was very flighty out of the final corner then for Rocket Lee. Then he's starting off a lap now, but yeah, that might not have been the optimal start to his race, to his qualifying lap, I should say. Then into the final corner for Jake the Slayer, then his first qualifying lap of the season as well, then after missing out last week, up to P4 then with a 32.1. Then fantastic stuff indeed onto the second row of the grid then for Jake the Slayer. Fantastic for the Racing Bulls, of course, then, because I'm sure Ginger Age is cheering on at home, or no, not at home, he's at work, isn't he? So maybe he's a bit busy doing some networking stuff or whatever it is that he's got to do with his wires and IT stuff, but there we go. But there we go, then P4 then for a Racing Bull, then it's Jake the Slayer then in P4. Fantastic stuff indeed for the Racing Bull team. And where is the next McLaren then? Now, so Astrodon is in the pit lane still. Gina then is coming through to start off another lap, then we'll come back to him then, because I think we've got some more action out on track. Then Rocket Lee is the one flying around then on the circuit as it stands. And he's coming through the spoon curve now, then heading on to that back straight as well. Then George Morgan said, how are you the real George Morgan, or are you an imposter? Then I'm thinking he's the real one. So Astrojon has got a 5-place grid penalty then for a collision with somebody there. I'm not quite sure who it was then. It might have been his teammate. Might have been his teammate then. That is going to be horrible news indeed then. I'm not quite sure if did something happen there. What goodness me, what happened there? I can't even find out what's happening there. But yes, whatever happened there, it's a 5-place grid penalty then for Astrodon for colliding with his teammate Jinner. And Rocket Lee's gone fastest. Rocket Lee with the 31.5 has put himself onto pole position. Once again, we saw him go challenging very difficultly rather in Australia, but very well, I should say, then for pole position then in Australia last week. Then he is currently challenging for pole position once again here, the second round of the season here in Shanghai. Then it's looking good for Rocket Lee. Then Jinner then has been involved in an incident with his teammate then in qualifying. My goodness me, then what happened then between the McLarens? Then it looked like Astrodron was coming out the pit lane then, but Jinner then was starting off a lap then, wasn't he? But he's now having to harvest energy then and go back into the pit lane. I'm not sure any communication down at the McLaren garage is paramount there, but I'm not quite sure what's going on then, to be fair, for McLaren. It seems issues then for McLaren then, but Williams looking strong then, and Corey Brennan looking strong as well. Then he's a 10th of a second up in his first sector then on his second attempt here as well then. Not quite sure what is going on for McLaren there, but yes, it seemed odd indeed. But Astrodron has got a 5-place grid penalty then for his whatever happened there. But yeah, we'll find out that Luke, George Morgan said he can confirm he's the real deal. Last time I checked then as well, that it's the real one, says Mushroom. It is the real one. Then George Morgan has joined us in the commentary box. Oh, in the commentary box, goodness me, I'm dreaming. In the comment section, fantastic. But yeah, there we go. To be fair, if you want to jump in then and take over from me, then I'll be more than welcome for that as well there. But yeah, there we go then. Only if you can commentate on ALR then, says Real Ashton as well then. George said, always good to know you're real then, and he blocked, says Mark Smith. That is Jinner then. Jinner is saying that he blocked, so his teammate blocked him then on his, oh dear. That's not good news then for McLaren, is it? But hopefully they can work that out then and get past it. Here comes Corey Brennan then. It's pole position for the second Williams then. It's a 31.3 then for Corey Brennan then. Takes it away from his teammate, but currently locking out the front row then. Team Williams then. Fantastic stuff indeed. Here in Shanghai then. They are looking very strong indeed then for the Williams team. Although Dynamo Dan then has jumped up then and split the pair then into a 31.4 for Dynamo Dan and Red Bull. And that's So brilliant qualifying indeed. Collateral Zuma's left the session. So hopefully he can get himself back in then before the start of the race, and 6 minutes left of the qualifying session. I've been rambling on, it feels like, for so long, but the qualifying session has been absolutely epic so far, hasn't it? 31.8 then for Dan then puts himself P5 for the time being. He's been displaced by Styles though, 31.8 as well then, but only a few thousandths of a second. Then Astrodron has jumped up to P5, then he is right behind his teammate then of Jinner, who's in P4, and Jinner coming out of the pit lane now then, hopefully doesn't get in the way of his teammate this time, and there's no roles reversed there as well then, but I think they've got themselves sorted now, which is good. Mumabro then heading on to the back straight now then in the Mercedes, then a 32.7 then slowest the time runners as it stands. Then Winnie's done a 31.4, then puts himself P3 then onto the second row of the grid. Fantastic stuff indeed then from him. If I still owned a PlayStation, I'm sure I could help them, to be fair. Collateral Zoom has got himself back in then. It says good stuff indeed then. So George, yeah, hopefully get yourself a PlayStation then, and you can take over from me, because I don't have a clue what I'm doing, to be fair. Good stuff indeed. Only tune in for the darts, says Mushroom as well then. And happy birthday, of course, to Luke Littler, who's turned 18 now, so he can go to the pub and have a drink this time, rather than going there to just play darts. He can now have a drink now, can Luke? So that's fantastic stuff indeed. Then hopefully Collateral Zoom then can get himself back in the car, and he has done, I think, as well now. So that's all good. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then Dan coming back into the pit lane, same for Styles as well. Then we've got a McLaren then of Astrodron heading back to the box as well. Winnie then heading through the final couple of corners then to get himself back into the pit lane as well. I think we're going to have a bit of a dull point of qualifying here then, because this is where the drivers then, of course, are just preparing then for the final runs and the final few seconds then of qualifying then to get themselves out at the optimal time on track. Then here comes Smithy though, heading into sector 2. Then he's gone purple briefly then in sector 1. More entertaining than Luton Preston game, but hopefully it's not games much better than, says Real Ashton. To be fair, I didn't see the Luton Preston game. To be well, yeah, there we are. That's what I have to say about that. But I'm sure it was. It sounds like it was very boring indeed. Go out, Mushroom, says Beast as well in the comment section. And he is encouraging Mushroom to get himself a lap on the board. But as it stands, not quite then for Mushroom. Then Luke is back in the pit lane. Luke yet to set a time and qualifying. Then same for IRS. Then same for Mushroom. And for this man here, Smithy. Then Smithy rounding the spoon curve then to finish off the beginning of sector 3. Then heading into the last couple of corners then, and heading down this back straight first. Then he's burned a lot of ERS. Then down towards that hairpin. Let's see how we can do then in the final braking zone, the heavy braking zone then of the circuit as well. Then heading into that hairpin as well. Then very nicely done indeed then for the Green Machine. And now he's got one more corner to tackle. Then can he get himself right? Can he get himself up the order? Then we'll find out now. Then for Smithy, then ERS like flashing away then, but across the line it's a 31.9 and puts himself P9 for the time being. Then his first attempt in qualifying. I think that might be his last as well. Then it depends on how much time or how quickly he can get himself back into the garage as well here. But I think he might be in a bit of peril then for Smithy, unless he can get himself round the circuit quickly enough to start off another lap then in this session. 3 minutes left of qualifying here, as we've got a problem then for an Alpine. And I think that's Vintage. Vintage has got off the circuit there. Vintage. Vintage. What's happened to Vintage? Okay. Vintage has just parked and been disqualified then, so that's great stuff indeed. Yes. Okay. Just a quick reminder then, if you're beached on the curb or beached in the gravel, then you can just reset to track. Then you are allowed to do that if you're beached, but obviously not if you're just off the circuit then. Yeah, if you can get back on the circuit, get back on the circuit. If you can't get back on the circuit, reset to track, and that only try and do so when it's safe. Then there's no other cars coming through. Yeah, unfortunately for Vintage, out of qualifying then, so that's him done and dusted. So that's unfortunate then for Vintage there as well then. Best of luck then from George then for Real Ashton. And we'll see how he's going to fare then in the race, of course. Unfortunately for Ashton, not setting a time then, but it looks like Mushroom is out on track though, so that's going to be fantastic stuff indeed. We will wait and see then what he's going to be up to then. We've got both Ferraris then starting off a lap as well then. Kick Sauber then of Smithy just got back to the pits, unfortunately. I think that's Smithy done and dusted in qualifying then. Not enough time then on the board then for Smithy. Mr. Elite is going to be out on track then, but I think it's Hungry Styles starting off a lap as well. Then we'll go on board with Styles then, shall we? Well, no, where's Rocket Lee then? Rocket Lee heading through Sector 2 then. Rocket Lee is rocketing around the circuit then. And can he get himself back on pole position then? Can he get himself his first pole position of the season as well then, after looking like it was going to be very likely then in Australia last week? Unfortunately, it was taken away from him at the last minute as well then. 6.5 tenths up then in the first two sectors though. That is looking pretty impressive stuff indeed. Then can he keep it all together then into the final sector is the question. A bit squirrely then into the entry point then of the spoon curve. Then we'll have to wait and see. That's going to cost him any time then, heading down towards the hairpin though. But that is looking pretty likely then for even a 30.8, isn't it? And that's going to be impressive stuff indeed. Rocket League can improve then that much as well. Then heading into the final corner then. Let's see what Rocket has got in his locker as well. Then heading for, oh dear, he's cut that hairpin quite a lot I should say. Now into the final corner then for Rocket Lee then. Let's see what it's going to be then for Rocket Lee. Can he get himself into the 30s then? It's a 30.9. It's pole position for Rocket Lee. Then that is fantastic stuff indeed. Then what a lap then from Rocket then. He's got himself on pole position then by 3.5 tenths of a second. Then that is pretty impressive. Can he hold on to it is the question. Then his teammate just starting off a lap now as well. Then where is Winnie? Winnie's starting off a lap very soon. So then half a minute left in the session as we go through then to finish off the last few laps as well then. DeCanco crosses the line then. No, he doesn't. Where is he? Yes, he does cross the line. He stays P12, I think, though. But unfortunately, he's slowing down then, trying to get himself out of the way, I think, then, of cars coming through. Yes, unfortunately for DeCanco, they're not improving on P12 then on that occasion. And we've got quite a lot of action then coming across the line. Then next is, no, it's not Jake the Slayer, it's Collateral Zoom. Then he's jumped up to P16. Then Smithy Almighty is done and dusted. Then Jinner is done and dusted in P2. Then Jinner is not out on track, I don't think. Then he is not going. He's not going again. Then he's staying P2 for the time being, or P2 at best. Jake the Slayer abandoning his time. He's back in the pit lane as well then. Umabro, then, no, it's not Umabro, it's IRS then heading into the final corner then for the Mercedes team. Then let's see what IRS can do then. Can he jump up the order then from P15? He stays P15 for the time being, that is. Casey next across the line. Then here comes Casey. Then Casey up into P11, then displacing Mr. Elite and his teammate down one place as well. Then Serious Mushroom is crossing the line. Then P4 for Mushroom. Then a 31.4. Then puts himself on the second row of the grid. Then fantastic from Mushroom. Then Jinner is done. Then Astrodron is P7. I think we've got some more crossing the line as well. Then Umabro then is done and dusted. P14 for Umabro. Luke crossing the line. Then last week's winner is going to cross the line then to finish P8 then in qualifying. Then not sure, well, that's where he wants to be, to be fair, but unfortunately that is the case. Then here comes Corey Brennan. Then Corey Brennan then is crossing the line, but he stays P3 then for the time being. Unfortunately for him, then not improving on that final run then for the second Williams driver. Then Rocket League back in the pit lane. Here comes Dynamo Dan. Then can Dynamo Dan try and get himself in the mix then for the top of the order? Then round the final corner of that back and trying to step out then, but here comes Dynamo Dan. Then it's P3 for P3 then in the driver's standings. Very good stuff indeed. Very well coordinated then from Dynamo Dan. Dan then crosses the line. P5. Mushroom down to P6. Here comes Winnie. Then Winnie stays P7. He invalidated on his final run. Then DeCanco then unfortunately is done and dusted. Then so is Collateral Zoom then. So that is your order then for the Chinese Grand Prix. We'll run through the full classification in just a jiffy then. But Rocket Lee takes pole position here in China. Then his second race then of the season, of course. But his second attempt then for pole position after challenging then for pole position in Australia in Melbourne last week. Has got himself confirmed as pole position now as well then in the Williams team. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Then can't park there, mate, says Beast. I think referring to Vintage as well. Then messed it up, you div, says Mushroom as well. Then still not bad. Then Mushroom is P6 then. So third row of the grid then for Mushroom is not too shabby indeed. So there we go then. Qualifying done and dusted here for the Chinese Grand Prix. Round 2 of silver. Silver? I'm in my last season's mind still. Round 2 of bronze, season 9. And there we go then. There is the kick salver then of Luke then as we head onto the main straight. Then we'll run through the classification very quickly indeed then before we get a quick word from our lovely sponsors and then into the race itself then. So there we are then. Rocket Lee pole position then. Fantastic from him. Then Jinner then P2 then his first race of the season. Then looking strong then on the front row. Then Dynamo Dan P3, Corey Brennan P4, Dan in P5, Mushroom and Winnie then in the Aston Martins P6 and P7. Then Astrodron has got a 5-place grid penalty, so Luke is promoted up into P8 then. Hungry Stars P9, then Jake the Slayer P10, Smithy Almighty in P11, and I think Astrodron then will P12, Casey then P13, Mr. Elite P14, Umabro P15, DeCanco P16, IRS P17, and I think we had Real Ashton and couple of others then having a bit of an issue then in qualifying there, but not getting a time on the board. Then P9 to P20 then says Kamara Racer. Then Lucas said P9 to what challenge, and P9 to P20 from Kamara. Then that's very distasteful stuff indeed. Then we'll have a quick word from our lovely sponsors. Then we'll be back ready for the race itself. Right, then here we go. We're going to get cracking then for the Chinese Grand Prix. In just a jiffy then, formation lap then underway. Goodness me, that Williams looking very shaky indeed, wasn't it? But we will start ourselves off then as we mean to go on then. And there we are then. The grid then is majority then on the hard compound tyres. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the medium compound, and that is Dynamo Dan in P3 then, Serious Mushroom in P6 then, and we've got Mr. Elite P14, Collateral Zoom then in the Racing Bull then on the mediums as well then. So the 4 drivers on the medium compound tyres. Everybody else, my God, then Rocket Lee is having a few issues out there, let's just say that. But Rocket Lee then is on the hard compound tyres leading from pole position then. But yeah, so 4 drivers on the medium compound tyres, the majority of the field, 16 of the field on the hard compound tyres. I'm just hoping that there's no lag going on there, because I'm the host at the same time as commentating on this, unfortunately. So there we go then. Casey said, hope the race pace is better than his qualifying pace then. Casey then P12 then, as it stands in. Has it given? Yeah, it has given Astrotron his penalty then. So unfortunately for Astrotron, he's been demoted down to P13. Then Casey does gain a place for that. But we'll have to wait and see then how it's going to unfold then in the Grand Prix itself. Then formation lap then is almost done and dusted then as we head on to the back straight very shortly then. Predicted strategy then is hards to mediums then, or even a 2-stop then, hard, medium, medium. I'm not quite sure many drivers are going to be trying to opt for that strategy then, but we'll find out as we get ourselves into the Grand Prix itself then. But first off, we've got to get through the first few laps then, and we're going to have quite a few drivers on the hard compound tyres. Those on the medium compound tyres are going to go for an early start, or quick start I should say, to try and get themselves through the field then, and we will see which is the best strategy at the end of the race then, to be fair, because we have to find out then at the end of lap 28 then, won't we? But Rocket Lee then just about to get himself lined up on the grid then, and well, all the other drivers in the back of the field then is still going down the back straight, isn't it? So it's going to be quite a wait then for the top of the field then, as they get themselves lined up in their grid slots as well then. We will find out what the position changes are then. We'll switch on to that then, as we got a very very fast Williams. It's an Aston Martin then going around that final corner then, not obeying the track limits on his formation lap, let's just put it that way, but fingers crossed that they can do that in the race. Unfortunately for Corey then, having a bit of an issue trying to park up there as well, then he's been disqualified then from the formation lap. But now we get to crack on then, we get to the action itself then, as Luke's had an issue as well then. My goodness me then, having a few problems then trying to get themselves parked in their grid slots. A very nice camera angle indeed, but it's very far away at the same time. Yes, I think we're going to have to see what the lights are doing here. 5 red lights are on here in Shanghai for bronze then. The 5 red lights are out now, and away we go then for the Chinese Grand Prix round 2 of bronze season 9. That's a good start indeed from Rocket. Then Jinner's struggle, then Dynamo down on the medium compound tyres has had a fantastic start. He's got himself up into P2 here, trying to go around the outside then of the race leader then, but not quite then as we head into the spoon curves. This is where it could get a bit dodgy, and Luke has gained, look at him go, he's flying then in the kicks out, then he's got himself battling with his teammate and the Alpine of Dan as well, then Hungry Styles and Jake the Slayer battling away then for that 9th and 10th position as as well, then heading into the hairpin, and it's going to get tight indeed there. Oh, there's contact as well then between the Kicksauber then and the Haas, and I think it was Smithy and Jake the Slayer involved as well. Goodness me. And oh my god, then into sector 2, then trying to go side by side through here. There's problems then, there's Hungry Styles is slowing down. He's lost a couple of places there as well. Then Dukanko's dropped down the field as well then at the hairpin, and I think he's got himself back in the way. He's not got any damage as well then to that Ferrari, and hopefully he can crack on and try and catch up to the field as well here. But not a good start then for Dukanko at this stage as well. My goodness me then, but a very frantic start, let's just say that then, as we head into the spoon then for the first time then, and onto the back straight. Then Willie's got himself past Umabro had a bit of an issue then through that final couple of quarters then, and has lost out then to the Aston Martin. Then of course points all the way down to P15 then in bronze this season then as a trial run. Then we've got an Aston Martin then sticking his nose out there. I think that might have been Mushroom trying to see if he can get himself past the McLaren of Gin, then heading into the hairpin. Then let's see if everyone else gets himself through unscathed. Then Collateral Zoom and Astra John in a bit of a fight. It looks like they're heading into the hairpin as well there, but they've got themselves sorted. Rocket Lee, of course, setting the pace then as we set ourselves on our way then to lap 2. Then Serious Mushroom has got himself past Jinner, has he? Round the outside into turn 1. Then has he held it? He has held it, and he's got the move done then into the podium places then for Mushroom. Then he's flying then, with COVID or not, then he is flying in the Aston Martin. Then brilliant stuff. Lead up 3 places, then up 7 places then for Mr. Elite. Then fantastic stuff from the Haas driver. I think he's on the medium compact tyres as well. Then Umabro up into P12 as well there. Moves and shakes going on down with the Astra Johns and the Collateral Zooms then heading into sector 2. Smithy Almighty and Casey then having a bit of a switch of places then into the exit, on the exit the hairpin as well, then flying through into sector 2 now. Mercedes then of Umabro then under pressure from Jake the Slayer, trying to go around the outside. Then is the Racing Bull, but not quite then for Jake. Then he has to sit behind then, and Umabro, he's having a bit of a struggle out there, I think, unfortunately for Umabro. Then he's been pushed. Then he's been pushed by Hungry Styles as well. Then Styles has lost 5 places. Jake's lost 3 places then, unfortunately, and they're both getting held up then behind the Mercedes then heading into sector 3. They're not quite sure if Umabro's having some sort of issues then, but he's got his front wing intact at least. But unfortunately for Umabro, then it's just not going very well then into the spoon curves, well, into any corner at least. It looks like at this point he's losing time then to the drivers ahead of him. Then the P11, top 11, I've rocketed away. Then speaking of rocketing away, then we've got Dynamo down. Then we've got a problem then for Dukanko at the spoon curve as well. Then he's lost the car. Then Collateral Zoom and Collateral Zoom then, and Astra John has switched places then for P16 and 17. Collateral's gone deep. Then Astra John might try and fight back then with a switch back as well, then, but not quite. And Dynamo Dan sets the fastest lap of the race, then trying to sprint away. Then he's now taking the lead of the Grand Prix. Winnie takes P10. Then Corey Brennan and Jinner then battling side by side. Where are they? There they are. They're through. Oh my God, there's contact again then. And trying to go through then side by side through here then. And my God then. And Corey's got the inside there. And Jinner needs to leave a bit of a gap then, at least a racing room then for the Williams car, but not quite then, it doesn't look like. And they've lost out 1.9 seconds then to the top 3 then as well. Then heading into the hairpin now. And my God, then Corey down the inside. Then a fantastic camera angle here from the, oh my God, and Luke's trying to poke his nose in there as well. Then, God, this is going to get tight indeed. There's contact. And yeah, my Luke then is getting his nose in there as well. The Mr. Elite is putting his nose in as well. Then on the medium compound tyres, then round the outside now goes the Kicksauber. Then it turns to the inside. There's contact again, and heading through into the next left-hander. Then they're trying to leave ourselves room then, but Corey Brennan holds on to P5 for the time being. My goodness me, then that was close indeed, and wasn't it? As we go through, then there's an Alpine then as well. Dan is putting his nose in there as well. Then Mr. Elite then trying to hold on to P7 now, and it's getting very tight in this battle then behind Jinner. Then the top 3 have split away then by almost 3 seconds then on the lap 3, and that's all because of Corey Brennan and Jinner's battling there as well. Then on that in that first couple of sectors has cost them dearly. Then that gap then to the leaders as well here, which is going to be very nice indeed if you're in the top 3, but not so nice if you're in the rest of the field heading into the hairpin. Then everyone seems to have behaved themselves nicely indeed enough then this time. Oh, your Marbro's had an issue then. He's ghosting then for some reason then, but Jake the Slayer is through then up into P12. He's got 2 seconds the gap then to Casey Jennett. Then trying to catch that gap up is going to be the next challenge then for the Racing Bull driver then as we head on to lap 4. But my God, then it's been an epic start then to bronze season 7. goodness me, we're flying back in time now. It's season 9, round 2 then. I can't get me rounds and me seasons right, but at least we can see some action there. There we go, good stuff indeed. Then Dynamo Dan holding on to the leader on the medium compound tyres. Then Rocket Lee is on the hard compound tyres. Of course, he started from pole position then, has lost the place then, but he's not going to be too worried about that. I don't think, as Mr. Elite's had an issue then. Mr. Elite is off the circuit there and trying to get himself back on the way. Then he's lost the car, then trying to get the power down, and he's down. He's losing more places as well, then trying to get that power down. And my goodness me, that is a very difficult start. Then what's happened to Mr. Elite then? He's not got any damage, it doesn't look like then, but he's had a problem at the hairpin, and that has cost him quite a lot of places as well then, because he's dropped down then all the way down to P18 then for Mr. Elite. Then he's really struggling out there. DeCanco then has got himself back underway as well. Then hopefully there's going to be some reprise then for those drivers who've had a bit of a difficult start then in this race. Then we're only on lap 4 then of 28. Then there's still plenty to come in this Grand Prix, and we will find out very soon then. So we'll find out now as well. We're going to have a change for the lead potentially. Then Rocket Lee into the hairpin. Then we'll see if he's going to make a late move, but he's too far back then at this stage. On to lap 5 very shortly then. Where is this pack then? This is the pack behind the podium places now. Unfortunately, the podium has split off then, but I think we're going to see some fighting then for the podium in just a jiffy then, or definitely later on in this race then, I should say. Then here we go then for P4. This battle then raging on then, and because of all the battling, like I said, they've lost out to the top 3 then by quite a substantial margin now as well then, as we head into lap 5 now. Mabro and Jake the Slayer then. Jake the Slayer up into P11 now. He's 3 seconds behind the top 10 as it stands in. Unfortunately, all the battling then is costing them time. Then this is it, unfortunately, as Dan's had an issue. He's off the circuit then at the exit of turn 3, trying to get himself back and away. But now that Dan is now into the clutches of Jake the Slayer then. But I'm not quite sure if there was an error there or if there was some sort of helping hand, I should say. Then Smithy and Winnie then are switching places. Then Winnie back up into P7 then, splitting the two kick Sauber pairs then, of course. But Luke then looking to try and charge on then from his difficult qualifying session. He's up into P6 now then, and he's keeping up with the pack then. Just needs to try and get himself through the pack then safely then, because that's the problem then. Top 3 then are trying to stretch their legs out in front then. They're doing a great job out here, and really, of course, just cementing their position then for the later stages of this race as well. Then when they do have to pit, then when they do have to try and negotiate through traffic, then when they do make their stops, that is, but they will have less to deal with if they can try and keep on pushing the gap then as it stands, which is looking pretty strong. Then there's the gap behind then. There is Corey Brennan then. He is trying to get himself into the DRS then, into the slipstream then of Jenner then in the McLaren then, but Jenner's got some great straight line speed then, holding off the Williams car into the hairpin now as well. Fantastic. This has been, like I said, I'm taking my breath away then on lap 5. So we've got another 22 laps or 23 laps or so of action. Goodness me. Corey Brennan then that rear end stepping out then through the final corner then onto the main straight. We go then. Lap 6 is now underway. And can Corey line up a move then for that P4 position then round the outside into the first couple of corners, and not quite. Then he stays behind the McLaren for the time being then. Any other movers and shakers, and Dan now is having to try and battle his way back through the field. Then he's got 3 seconds to try and catch up. Then of course Luke is being passed by Winnie, has he? Goodness me, there's contact there. I think that was just debris coming off, not any damage there itself, but Luke's dropped down behind the Aston Martin, and goodness me, Smithy's gone into the back of his teammate into that hairpin as well. Then my goodness me, it is all action to say the least in bronze in round 2, but I think because the damage situation, we've got everything is okay. Then we've got a problem for Vintage at the hairpin. He's off the circuit, and unfortunately his qualifying was a bit difficult then with that disqualification, which was very odd indeed. But Vintage then back underway then, but unfortunately losing out then, which is a big shame then. But hopefully he can get himself back in then later on. Then Winnie's on a charge, and Winnie's up into P5. Then he's past Corey Brennan into an unconventional overtaking place, to be fair, into the end of Sector 2, into the beginning of Sector 3, and now he's on a charge, and now he's going to line up a move then for that P4 position. Then we have to switch onto the tyre situation, so I completely forgot about that. But here we go then. There's a better angle. Then here comes Winnie then on the back straight, then heading in towards the hairpin. Then can he make a move down the inside then on Gin? And then yes, he's going to go for it down that inside, and we've got a nice better angle, I should say. Goodness me, there's contact then, and both of them have gone off the circuit there, and that is, oh goodness me, there's I think a bit of a problem then. We've got a problem for Casey Jennett as well. Then he's ghosting, then he's lost places as well. Then there's all sorts of action at the hairpin here, and you Umabro snuck through for P10 then, has it? Yes, he has then, up into P10 then for the Mercedes driver then, goodness me. Smithy and Corey then battling with them both. The Kicksabers have got themselves past the Williams as well then in that fracas, and Casey has lost out then to Jenner, I should say then, as we head into the first couple of corners. And Umabro trying to defend then, and now Casey down the inside then. Jenner is very all over the place, let's just say that then at this stage. Mr. Elite's got himself past IRS then for P14, trying to catch up to this battling pack as well then on the medium compound tyres. Is Mr. Elite at this stage of the Grand Prix, that is. Umabro and Styles then. Styles diving down the outside then, but I think it's going to be well, he's done a very good job indeed of slowing that car down as well then, and now could have the inside then into the next turn. But I think Umabro's letting go through then, and oh dear, Styles on the curve then, he's lost out then. Umabro holds on to P12. Goodness me. And I can't keep up with all of the action, to be fair. Top three now stretching their legs. Goodness me, that's Rocket Lee having an issue then, and Mushroom's going to go around the outside then. The ghost car then of Rocket Lee then, as we go through then onto the back straight. Then there's going to be some DRS then for Mushroom to try and catch back up to Dynamo Dan. But this is where the Red Bull might try and stretch his legs as well here to try and keep that gap over 1 second as well. Then heading into the hairpin then on lap 7, then the top three. Oh, goodness me, Rocket Lee is all over the back. I don't think he needs to, doesn't need to push this hard at this stage, because he just needs to just hold on to the top two at this stage as well. Then Hungry Styles, back past Umabro then for P12, then heading into the hairpin as well. Then this time a bit more well behaved then, but unfortunately there was a mistake then between Ginner and Winnie, I think it was, into that hairpin on the previous lap then, that cost the issue, or cost all the issues I should say then. 2.8 seconds then for Dan to try and catch up to the top six. Then these three I should say fighting then, both the Kicksabers and then of course the Williams driver of Corey then trying to get himself involved then for that P4 battle then, but they've got 6 seconds then. We've got a nice siren of support going past the window, but we've got 6 seconds the gap then between the top three and this battling trio. Then there's two trios then splitting away then from each other then. 2.8 seconds the gap between Dan and the top six. Then can Dan reel in those two, or those three I should say then, because they're fighting. So potentially then, if Corey then starts getting himself a bit interested in that P5 or P4 as well, potentially any fighting then will bring Dan, Winnie and Jake the Slayer, maybe even Jenner as well then, and Casey then into the fight as well. We'll have to wait and see. Out in front then, medium runners then are flying. It looks like, as it stands, and of course the medium runners will drop off, their tyres will drop off a lot earlier than the hard runners. So we might see a switch in play then in terms of the strategies in just a few laps time. Then heading down the back straight then, Dynamo Dan leads the way then. He's looking very comfortable indeed then. Serious Mushroom has got some DRS then down this back straight to try and reel him in then, as does Rocket Lee. But Rocket Lee I think now just has to bide his time, because he doesn't need to do anything silly now, does Rocket Lee. Then he's on the hard compound tyres. He's going to go longer in this first stint, and he can just use that to his advantage later on. Then we've got a problem then for Collateral Zoom. Then he's well off the circuit then at the spoon curve then. To Kanko then coming around the final corner as well, then has had an issue, the spoon cover as well, then it seems to have had an issue. Then Collateral Zoom coming back on circuit then, making sure he gets out of the way then of those coming through then. And wow, late on the brakes indeed then, it was Astrodron then. I think he got himself a bit mixed up then with Vintage, and Vintage got himself through then up into P16 and heading through then into the final corner. Then Winnie has got himself past Dan then for P7, but Dan's fighting back then. He's got the inside then, which of course turns to the outside now, but wow, they're going to go rubbing wheels side by side through the first couple of corners then, and Winnie, Dan's gone out wide then. Winnie then is trying to hold on to that P7 position. Then they've got 3 seconds to the top six then. But they have, status quo as it stands then at the moment then on lap 9 then. Where to look is the question. Vintage has been passed by Astrodron. Astrodron is back through then up into P16 and now trying to charge on at this point of the race as well then. So far so good then. Danny. Winnie's had an issue then, because Dan has flown through in an unconventional part of the circuit then, that is sector 2, and the Alpine has gone flying through then, and he's got himself out of 1 second window, the 1 second window as well then. So Winnie's had an issue somewhere, dropped down to P8 then, and Dan now has got focus on trying to catch up to the pack then ahead, and if he can do that, that'll be a fantastic feat indeed then, to be fair. But we'll have to find out if that is doable or not then. Out in front then, Mushroom has lost out to the DRS then of Dynamo Dan. Then Rocket Lee has gone through for P2, and can Rocket Lee get himself back in the DRS detection point? Then we've got all sorts of battling him with this trio as well. Then we've got a problem then for Collateral Zoom then on the into sector 3, but now into the hairpin we go then, and these I think they've all switched places then, haven't they? Literally literally. So Corey's gone from P6 to P4, then Smithy's gone from where was he? P5 to P5, and Luke's gone from P4 to P6 then, so they've all gone flipped themselves around there. But I think they're all good. So we crack on then, 6 seconds to gap then, still to the top three then. Rocket Lee has dropped out that DRS window then of Dynamo down, then that's going to be bad news indeed. Then Vintage is back past the McLaren of Astra John. Can he hold on to it? This time is the question then. Who's got the DRS then onto the back straight? I think it's Astra John as well then, onto the main straight I should say. And heading into turn one then, Astra John has taken back that place. These two carrying on their fight then. Jake the Slayer and Styles then are battling as well. Then the exit turn 3, Collateral Zoom is in the pit lane. Maybe calling it a day early on the medium compound tyres. Goodness me. What is going on there then? That is incredibly dangerous stuff indeed then. And Styles almost into the back then of the Racing Bull then, and now the Racing Bull has lost out to the Haas then into Sector 2, and Styles having to P11 I should say then. Casey's got himself up into P10 then. Jinner is the leader of this pack then, but unfortunately they're not closing in then on those ahead just yet then at this stage of the race then. 2 seconds, the gap out in front then for Dynamo down. There is an air gap there indeed then between the Red Bull then and the Williams heading down the back straight, and it's looking pretty good indeed then. Mushroom then on the charge has got some DRS to play with then, heading into the hairpin then. Can he make a move then for P2 once again then? We'll find out now. And is he going to go for the move into P2? Yes, he is. Up into the higher echelons then as well. Then Smithy's got himself past Corey Brennan into P4. My goodness me then, that is late on the brakes then for the Williams then, and there's all sorts of issues there as well then. I think Smithy maybe I've overbraked a bit too early then, or Corey just misjudged the braking point, and Luke's gone through then for P5 and back underway then. Goodness me then, lap 11. We've got more problems then. Collateral Zoom's off the circuit again then in Sector 2. He's really having issues then. He's on a fresh set of hard compound tyres. Jinner is in the pit lane, so Jinner's calling it a day then on the hard compound tyres very early on here as well. Then Mr. Elite and Umabro have gone through. Then we've got more action with Dan and Winnie then into the first couple of corners, and this time it's roles reversed. Then this time Dan's got the inside of turn 3, and this time Dan has held on to P6. Then we've got Luke getting himself past his teammate Smithy then into the hairpin, and oh my god, there's no team orders down at Kick Sauber, is there? Because Smithy's taken that place back, diving down the inside then, and my goodness me, it is, well, let's just say it's all action-packed then. What performance from Bronze. Nice to look then, says Kamara Racer. Then, yes, Bronze have been putting on a show in the first 11 laps then of the Chinese Grand Prix here as well. It's been brilliant stuff indeed. Out in front then, Sirius Russian's got a 2.3 second gap to Dynamo down then, who's leading the way then very comfortably indeed after whatever happened then. I think there was a mistake then for Mushroom potentially that cost him. Casey's picked up the first penalty of the evening, then he's currently in P10 then. Can he get himself into the challenge then with Hungry Styles then as we go through into Sector 3 then? This is where the DRS detection point is, but unfortunately I think the Casey is too far back then, and that might open the door for Jake the Slayer to go for that P10 position then into this onto this back straight. Then Luke is going to line up a move then for that P4 position, I'm sure, on his teammate. There's contact there between the two Kick Saubers, and there's all sorts of issues going on down at Kick Sauber it seems, and the Williams of Corey Brennan, I thought he was going to sneak up the inside there and take at least one of them then, but not quite then, heading on to lap 12. But we've got more yellow flags. This time it's for a Ferrari. Then DeCanco is having issues out there. Unfortunately, then he's got himself back on with that spoon curve is costing him. Corey's got himself past Smithy then into the first turn. Then down the main straight then with some DRS then, and Corey up into P5 then once again splitting the two Kick Saubers then. But unfortunately, they're very wily indeed of those Kick Saubers. They seem to keep battling back. Then Mr. Elite's in the pit lane and calling it there on the medium compound tyres now as well. Jinner has pit then for medium compound tyres. Jinner then is going to try and get the medium compound then to the end of the race. Are we going to see the 2-stop then from Jinner? Potentially, then we'll have to find out then. But heading on to the medium compound tyres this early then from the hards, I don't think is the optimal strategy, but we'll find out then as we go through, as Collateral Zoom has retired on track then and has caused a safety car. And unfortunately for Collateral Zoom, then that is going to be very bad news indeed, because we don't like that sort of thing. Safety car is out though, but we'll get ourselves sorted then as we get ourselves wrapped up then behind the safety car. Then I think it's going to be good news for those who have pitted, or haven't pitted, sorry, I should say. It might be good news for Jinner as well, actually. He can go onto a set of hard compound tyres again if he's got another set available there. But there we go then. Pit window opens up from lap 12 then for the medium. Then going to be interesting then. Well, it's going to be very interesting now indeed then, because a safety car has been caused then by Collateral Zoom, and unfortunately for collateral soon, then he's going to be under investigation for that safety car as well then. But there we go then, heading into the hairpin then. Dynamo Dan then I think will be very much looking forward to getting off these medium compound tyres and onto a fresh set of boots then. Will anybody stay out then on their hard compound tyres and try and go, will try and stay on the one-stop strategy then potentially then for those who are on the hards? We'll have to wait and see then. Into the pit comes the race leader, then Mushroom follows him, and then so does Rocket Lee then out in the not in the gap then. The good news is that it closes those gaps up, doesn't it, now between the order, but everyone coming into the pit lane now. And Winnie's going for an overtake here on Smithy then into the pit lane as well, and has got the move done then. That's very much legitimate as well then, so fantastic stuff indeed then from Winnie. Casey is staying out then. Astrodron's got a 10-second penalty for a collision with IRS then. What has happened there then? Goodness me. Well, it seems like Astrodron is in a bit of a problem, having a bit of a problem then, trying to avoid other cars then. Astrodron's got a drive-through penalty then for speeding under the VSC. My goodness me, then there's all sorts of action going on here under the safety car here tonight. My God, then Ginner then's carried on then on his medium compound tyres, and it's going to be up in P13 as it stands then. Well, safety car then lap 13 on about halfway point of the Grand Prix here. Everyone then filtering into the pit lane, apart from Real Ashton then, and apart from IRS and from Casey Jennings. So they're all staying out then, those three. Well, the majority of them are those are going in the pit lane, I should say, but those three have stayed out then. Hard compound tyres for those who have stayed out as well then. I'm not quite sure it's going to be the best strategy then. Potentially they might be looking to pit then on this lap then and use the extra lap of freshness on their tyres then to the end of the Grand Prix then. But yes, it's a bit of an odd call that, isn't it? But we will wait and see then. The Ferrari then has taken the lead of the Grand Prix here, and we will find out then what the situation is going to be like then to unfold then. So good news, I suppose you could say, for Vintage, for Astrodron, then for Decanco then to catch up to the field now, and the rest of the grid then that were behind the top three then, who were flying on into the distance at this point, the early stage of this race as well, weren't they? But safety car then has nullified that. Then of course everyone has to adhere to the delta then and slow down then. Unfortunately, we have got penalties then out there, which is a drive-through then for Real Ashton and for Casey 3 seconds for Casey Jennett as well then, that was picked up prior to the safety car as well. Kamara Racer said the mediums will do it, hopefully, so hopefully the medium compound tyres will be no problem to the end of the Grand Prix from here. So we should be all right then from Kamara Racer's point of view. Then we're going to have to do, what was that then, 16 laps then on the medium compound tyres from this point, and then Casey Jennett is going to stay out, though he's not going to come into the pit lane at this point. IRS is coming in the pit lane though, so IRS calling it a day then on his hard compound tyres. Maybe a very good call then. Real Ashton is doing the same as well then, so maybe, I think, actually, for IRS and for Real Ashton, they might have made a pretty good call here, because of course there isn't too much tyre wear under a safety car then, you have to say, but they have done a good job then of just maybe extending that stint, and even though it's cost them places then under the safety car then, in terms of the queue, in terms of the positions that is, they have got the freshest tyres on the grid. So we will wait and see then, and Ducanco might come out behind IRS here as well then, whereas IRS then, he has come out of the pit lane in P17, he stayed ahead of the Ferrari, and he's put himself into a bit of a sandwich then with Real Ashton then in P19. Unfortunately for Real Ashton, he's going to have to serve that drive-through penalty as well, isn't he, which I forgot about, but hopefully he can get that done, dusted out of the way quickly enough then as well. So the only driver yet to pit in this Grand Prix, who is going to have to take a mandatory pit stop as well at some point, is the race leader, which is Casey Jennett, who stayed out then after that safety car was released. It will hopefully be in at the end of this lap as well then, so we're going to have 14 laps of racing action then to the checkered flag, hopefully that is, but we'll find out then. Casey is going to be a bit of a cork in the bottle then for the, well, literally, because he's going to be the race restart leader, but also with those older hard compound tyres then as well. We will find out very shortly then. Will be pretty dead, says Ultimate Beast, then in terms of the tyre situation that Kamara Racer was talking about as well then. And we've got the safety car coming in this lap as well then. So there we go then. Safety car will get himself back in the pit lane, then Casey then will restart the race. And we'll get cracking then at the beginning of lap 15. So good stuff indeed. And we've got a problem for Dynamo Dan. Then Dynamo Dan is off the circuit then. He's what is going on then for Dynamo Dan? That he is off the circuit there, and what is Dynamo Dan is really having some sort of issues then. Let's just say that then. well, you can't overtake under safety car. So Hungry Stars has got a 10-second penalty then for ignoring the yellow flag there as well then. So that's that then. I'm not quite sure what Dynamo Dan was up to there, but he seemed to have some sort of technical difficulties, let's just say that. Unfortunately, that's dropped him from P2 down to P11 now, or P10 I should say. Right then, Casey then to get us underway then. When will he get the race restarted? Not quite just yet then, because he's spun the car, and Serious Mushroom now has to take the restart then, and this is going to be chaos as well then, because Mushroom is not gone. And my goodness me then, that is horrible stuff indeed then. And Casey then dropping the car then at the restart then. Unfortunately, it is not going to be as well as we've got Rocket then, who's just doing something weird there as well. Mushroom's got a 10-second penalty for ignoring yellow flags then. Same for Rocket, I think, as well. Then there's all sorts of penalties then coming in then, and unfortunately that's going to ruin the race result as well here, which is fantastic. To be fair, why would we cause a safety car on purpose there is all I have to say there. But there we go. We will deal with that then another time. But Mushroom then has got a 10-second penalty. Then we've got problems then for Casey. Then Casey's dropped down to P6 already on that restart. Well, he did spin the car, didn't he, to be fair? So unfortunately then he's struggling on those older hard compound tyres. And goodness me, Dan then, and there's more contact there going through into P6. Then Corey Brennan around the outside of Winnie then has got himself over to P4 now and trying to charge on here as well then. But yes, a mess of a restart then. It was unfortunately because Casey dropped it on the exit of the hairpin. And being the race leader then, that caused havoc with the yellow flags and then the restart and everything as well then. But nonetheless, it is done and dusted now. We've got to crack on. And we're heading through into Sector 3 now. And Smithy, oh God, there's contact between Smithy, Casey, then, and the Styles as well then. And God, my dear, oh my word. Smithy's been just bundled off the circuit there and trying to get himself back on then into P15 then. But yeah, not quite sure what has gone on then. Then Dynamo Dan is up into P10 then. Casey has been passed by Ginner then as we go into the hairpin, and Casey's gone straight on then as well. Then my God, those old hard compound tyres are not holding on very well at all indeed then for the Ferrari driver. Then unfortunately, DeCanco's got himself past his teammate now as well. Then heading into lap 16 then of 28. Then I think it might be a wise time for Casey. Then he is in the pit lane now to sort that car out then as well. Then my goodness me, then Smithy's back past IRS then for P14. Then Winnie and Dan are in a battle now as well. Then no, that's Corey, sorry, and Dan and Winnie, I should say. Goodness me. Jake the Slayer has passed Mr. Elite then for the time being. Oh no, he's not, because Mr. Elite is ghosting then, and Vintage has gone through him. And I'm really not sure what is going on here in bronze tonight then, but yes, it is chaos to be fair. Well, I think the safety car has caused it all to be fair as well then, but we'll have a situation of the penalties then. I think all those penalties will probably be removed. He's got 20 seconds for Corey Brennan, so that is odd stuff indeed. Mushroom then is got 10 seconds, as has Rocket Lee. Then Luke has got 10 seconds, Styles has got 10 seconds as well then, and that's the situation we've got then for penalties then. But to be fair, I'm not even sure if any of those will count or not, to be honest. We'll have to wait and see at the end of the Grand Prix. So there we go. To be fair, what happens if the safety car is not technically in and the race leader spins the car? Then I think we do have to actually try and stop and not go past the race leader, don't we? Anyway, enough of that. We'll go on to this one. Winnie's got himself up into P4. Then we've got Rocket Lee trying to shape for a move then for P1. But I'm not sure if he can get it done, or can he get it done then into the final corner then? No, not quite then. Gino's got himself past Styles now. Round the hairpin we go then. Styles is holding on then for P7. Then he's got the inside then for the final corner. Then Rocket Lee has got Winnie's got the fastest lap of the race, I'm sorry, as we go through onto lap 17 of 28 then. Here comes Dynamo Dan then on the charge, and he's got some extra power then on that in that Red Bull as well. Heading down the inside then into turn 1 then. There's contact, I think, between Ginner then and Styles there. We go through into turn 2 then, and they've got themselves snuck through indeed as well then. Nicely done indeed. Vintage and Mushroom, not Mushroom, sorry, Mr. Elite are battling away then. Now Smithy Almighty is getting involved as well then. Goodness me. I'm not quite sure where to look. Luke and Mushroom, then Luke and Rocket, I think, will switch places there actually for P2 and P3, not Mushroom. Mushroom's charging on. Mr. Elite then is in a battle with Smith the Almighty, it looks like here. Trying to go down the inside then of the Haas, and around the outside goes Mr. Elite, then he's got the inside for the next one. And this battle through Sector 2 then is just going to rage on, it looks like, as well then. But fair enough. I'm sure, unfortunately, the battling is just going to cost each other time. Then Ginner's had an issue. Then Ginner's off the circuit there as well. Then trying to get himself back on then at the exit of the double left-handers there as well. Then he has got himself dropped down to P16, and Styles is off the circuit as well. And not quite sure if something happened there as well then, but Styles also off the circuit, having issues then in the Haas as well, the same place then. Goodness me, all sorts of antics going on here in bronze tonight then, let's just say that then. Rocket Lee then has taken P2 then away from Luke then as we go into the hairpin then for the 17th time, and now into lap 18 then. Goodness me, Rocket Lee's car is very twitchy, let's just say that. Hopefully that's not hopefully that is just, well, I'm not sure, maybe it's just my view, my connection that is, but Dan then takes P5 up into P5, then passing the Williams of Corey Brennan then for that position as well then, and now can he chase down the top 4 as well? He's much closer this time then to the top 4 than he was previously then. Ginner is in the pit lane, and calling it a day then on the medium compound tyres, as Real Ashton's got a 3-second motor then coming through the hairpin. Unfortunately for him then, Ginner then, into the pits then to put on a set of medium compound tyres again then, so he's done a 2-stop then as Ginner. Ducanco has lost out to the McLaren of Astrodrom then. Ducanco then trying to get himself back and away, but he's had an issue somewhere because he's ghosting very briefly there as well then, but he's got himself sorted and cracking on then as it stands then. Good stuff indeed. Right. What's going on around the rest of the order then as well then. Serious Mushroom then leads the way then. We've got Rocket Lee then, 10 laps to go then at the end of this one then. Rocket Lee is putting the pressure on now as well then for that lead of the Grand Prix as well. Once again then Luke is under a bit of a fight then. Surely you can appeal it, says Beast. Well, I don't have a clue, to be fair, because I'm not involved. So there we go then. But heading down the back straight now then, Winnie is getting closer. Winnie is on a charge here as well then. Winnie's not wanting any penalties. Of course, the penalty situation for those around him might be under investigation anyway. Serious Mushroom has lost the lead then. Serious Mushroom goes very deep then into the hairpin then, but Rocket Lee then takes the lead of the Grand Prix then on lap 18, heading into the hairpin as well then, heading on to lap 19 now. The question is, how long are those medium compound tyres going to hold on then? Mushroom, Dynamo Dan then, and Mr. Elite could be in a very good position then at the towards the end of this Grand Prix. Then Mr. Elite needs to do a bit of catch up then at this stage then, but still towards the end of the race then it could be a very good position to be in then as we go through then onto lap 19 now. Rocket League leads the way then, 6 laps on the medium compound tyres, 6 laps for everybody pretty much apart from Mr. Elite who's done 7. 5 for IRS of course, who did pit that lap later then. That could be a master stroke strategy then for IRS, then he might be in a much better position towards the end of this Grand Prix compared to others then. Umabro, his teammate, then has been passed by Ducanco then at turn 3 and up into P15 now for P14 for Ducanco, then P15 then for Umabro, heading into the hairpin now as well then. Wow, it's been epic stuff indeed, to be fair, but like I said, I think a few people's issues have come from that safety car, and Winnie then is looking for a move then into P3, but not quite. Then he's staying behind Luke for now, but we'll have to bide our time. Goodness me, got there in the end. But we might be seeing some moves then very shortly. Then here comes Rocket Lee then rocketing down the back straight then, but he's got he's got 2 Aston Martins, he's got a Kick Sauber, he's got an Alpine then joining the fight as well here, flying down that back straight as well, heading into the hairpin. Is Mushroom going to go for a move down the inside? No, he stays behind, stays P2 for the time being as it stands. Vintage, oh dear, what's happening here? Vintage and Smithy and Jake the Slayer and former teammates they were, but goodness me, there's all sorts of action there as well. Then Vintage, I think, almost at the back then of Smithy, and they're all taking different lines out of that hairpin for sure. Rocket Lee has lost the lead then. Serious Mushroom takes P1 then onto the 20th lap then of this Grand Prix. Fantastic stuff indeed, and so far so good then for the top 5. Jake the Slayer then has lost out then to Vintage and Smithy Almighty, and Vintage on charge here as well then to Kanko back past Umabro. Then these two carrying on their fight then. Unfortunately, they're on the brink of the points paying positions as it stands then for the Ferrari and the Mercedes at the moment, but can they get themselves back in the fight as well? We'll have to wait and see. Right then, lap 20 of 28 then, this is where it's going to start getting a bit more tense indeed, if it could get any more tense I should say. Winnie then all over the back of Luke then, that's heading into sector 2 I should say, goodness me, and I thought he was pushing that Kick Sauber then through the corners at that point. Now into sector 3 we go then, a very nice camera angle here then. Oh no, we've gone off it, never mind then, we'll ignore that because here we are then onto the back straight once again then. And the gap then starting to form then between Mushroom and the rest of the field, then potentially that could be a sign that the medium compound tyres are starting to fade here in this Grand Prix. We will find out very soon, but yes, at the moment it's it's status quo pretty much then, because we head through then onto lap 21 very shortly then. we'll have to wait and see then what the situation is with the penalties then for the top 3 then, and for the likes of Ginner and Styles, I think it was as well. Then goodness me, that Aston Martin has gone very wide then. Has got a 3-second penalty for his troubles as well then, and I'm not sure that will be removed then at the end of the Grand Prix then for Winnie then. But now we go through then down the inside on Luke, heading through the first couple of corners, and Luke's still on the inside, on the outside then. He's still on the outside there. Unfortunately, he can't hold on to the inside then for the next turn. Then he is down to P4 then, and Winnie then takes P3. Well, my goodness me, then, like I said, action all over the field. Then Ginner has got himself past Real Ashton for P18 here, but Real Ashton then is doing a good job of soldiering on in this race. Then we've got the top 5 then in a bit of a battle. Then Corey Brennan, unfortunately, is struggling there. Has he got damage then for the Williams car? Then it doesn't look like it on our screen then, but he's just not having the run of the green then on those medium compact tyres. Then Dynamo Dan has caught up to him now as well then, and heading into the sector 2 field then, potentially could be lining up a move then onto the back straight then with some DRS. Then he is almost 4 seconds behind the top 5, unfortunately, with Dynamo Dan then, who was leading the Grand Prix then before that safety car. And yes, it just it hasn't gone too well, and let's just say after that then. So unfortunate scenes then for Dynamo Dan. Then here we go then out in front. Then we've got 2 Aston Martins, we've got 2 we've got 1 Williams, then we've got the other Williams in P6 then, not too far away then. Dynamo Dan then up into P6 very shortly then, but now into the hairpin then for the top 5. Nothing doing then, no change then just yet. And heading through then onto lap 22 in a moment's time then. So far so good then. Dynamo Dan then stays ahead, so gets ahead of Corey Brennan then for P6, and he's got 4 seconds to try and gain then on the 5 ahead of him as well then on the hard compound tyres. Vintage and Mr. Elite then are battling then into the final corner. Then there's a very wide racing bull there, very wide as in he's gone off the circuit, that is, but unfortunately Jake the Slayer then having a bit of an issue then at the final corner. Then he's held on to P9 then for the time being. Then Vintage is holding on to P10 then, but Mr. Elite is all over the back of him now on those hard compound tyres. And Mr. Elite then, another one on the hard compound tyres, might be looking to get some moves done then in the next few laps or so, because this is where the crossover starts to happen then for the hards. And DeCanco then is in a fight now. Sorry, no, it's not. It's Umabro then, and Styles in a fight now as well then for the P15 position. Then there's contact between the two of them again then. And Styles, I think, has tried to sneak through then. Yes, he has stuck through and up into, oh my god, there's contact again then between the Styles and Umabro then, but you need to leave it a space, as somebody might say, but there we go then. I think they've got themselves sorted now. Mr. Elite then all over the back then of Vintage for that final well, not the final point playing position now, because it's changed for bronze if you hadn't heard already. P15 down to P15 gets the points, but Mr. Elite then wants to get himself in the top 10 nonetheless then, doesn't he? He wants to maximise his positions and maximise his point scoring positions as well then. Dynamo Dan is almost taken a second out of the top 5 then with his hard compound tyres. He is absolutely storming there on those hard compounds as well. Then it's just showing that the hard compound tyre is definitely the better tyre to be on right now. Then Mushroom might be in a good spot here on those hard compound tyres then, as we head on to lap 23 then of 28. Then we've got 6 laps of racing to go here in Shanghai. So far so good then. The Stars has got himself past DeCanco then for P14 then, but of course penalties permitting, that is, because he's got quite a few penalties racking up then. I think the Styles then, well, not that penalty, I think he's got 1 penalty then for that whatever happened under that safety car, which again, all of that will probably be reviewed then after the race itself anyway, but yes, we'll just have to play it by ear on that one then. So Dynamo Dan trying to catch up then to the top 5 then. Can he do it? Can he do it, I should say, then in the Red Bull then on the hard compound tyres. Then we saw what's happening. I think his wheel's having a few issues, let's just say that might have been the cause for the loss of positions then under the safety car. But yes, a bit of an odd one then for Dynamo Dan. Then he seems to be having some technical difficulties out there as well. Then Mr. Elite has got himself past Vintage now up into P10. Then it took him a while, then did Mr. Elite then, but now he's got himself up into the top 10. Can he try and get himself further up the order as well then, because he could get some big points in for Mr. Elite then on those hard compound tyres, especially if those on the medium start to run into a bit of trouble then with their tyres as well. Then we'll wait and see. Out in front though, looking pretty good indeed then. We've got Dynamo Dan then trying to get himself into the fight as well. Then he is 3.5 seconds off then, but he's gaining quite a lot of time then, especially around that spoon curve then. Corey Brennan has lost out to the DRS then of the Red Bull car then. Heading through then into that same spoon section is Mr. Elite then. He's all over the back then of Jake the Slayer, then heading on to the back straight. Going to have some DRS then down towards the hairpin as well then for the Haas then. Let's see, that rear wing opens up then, and here he goes then. Can he line up a move for P9 then? He's got the move done before he even gets to the braking zone then, is Mr. Elite then, and he's got himself P9 wrapped up there as well then. Good stuff indeed. Then next target is Smithy then for the Haas driver. Then we'll see if he can get himself through. Then we've got some situations in. I think we've got IRS. No, we've not got Astrodron and Hungry Styles in the battle as well then. But we'll have a look at the position changes as well then, because driver of the day is out in the comment section. Then Mushroom, Luke, Dan and Rocket then. Or it just says Dan, so I'm not quite sure which Dan it is then, to be fair, because there could be two. Dan and Dynamo Dan then. So whoever you're voting for, if you're voting for Dan, who knows who it is, but there you go. Then Mushroom's up 5 places then, but of course penalties permitting, then we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen in the reviews then after the penalty situation. Then Rocket Lee then in P2 then of course is lost the place then because he was on pole position then, but of course has had the issues then, and Winnie's had an issue as well there, and he's lost the car, and that is going to be costly new for Winnie. Then he's got a 3-second penalty then as well. But he got himself back on the way quickly enough. Then Luke, I think, has lost out then to Rocket Lee in that situation there as well, because he had to try and avoid the Winnie car, or the Winnie Aston Martin, I should say, shouldn't he? But yes, so unfortunately, that is Luke. Then it might be in a bit of danger. Then Dan might be able to pounce then and go for that P3 position then here. We will wait and see then. Winnie then dropping down to P5 then. Dynamo Dan now only 1.9 seconds behind. Then Sirius Mushroom has lost the lead because Rocket has gone for it then and taken the lead into lap 24, lap 25 soon to commence as well. Dan takes P3. Can he get himself into the contention then with the two in front of him as well? Then we'll wait and see. Then Dan is 1.3 seconds behind. Then it's not close enough. Then Luke's picked up a 3-second motor, then going wide then at the final corner. Then unfortunately for Luke, last week's race winner, then it's not going his way then tonight then for another race win at this point in time, I should say. Then it's still time to go. Then it's only lap 25 of 28 then. So my goodness me, there's so many laps to go then indeed. Right then, so there's the position changes as well then as it stands then. We'll have a look at the penalties as well then, but again you have to say anybody with a 20-second penalty. There you go, for Corey, as Jake has got himself past Vintage as well then. Anybody with 20 seconds of penalties then, anybody with a 10-second penalty then in any regard then will probably have that reviewed then after the race then, we have to say then. But yes, unfortunately at the moment we can only go by what we've got then, and at this point I should say it's bad news for Rocket Lee, for Mushroom and for Luke. And for Corey Brennan as well then, to be fair, but unfortunately that is the situation that we're in then with that restart then on after the safety car, where the race leader spun the car and unfortunately caused a few penalties and a few issues then at the restart as well then. Heading on to the back straight then, this is where Mushroom's going to line up and move once again then for that P1 position then. Dan has got himself back into DRS then of the top two then, so he's got that, caught the pack back up then. Rocket Lee then looking to dart off to the outside then, but Mushroom's got himself through then, passing on the inside then into the hairpin on lap 25 then, up into P1 now for Mushroom here as well. And Farth, if you're listening in the comment section, I think we probably just need to just remove the penalties, to be fair. I'm not quite sure exactly what you saw on stream as well, or what you saw elsewhere as well, but it didn't seem that interesting, let's just say. Then it just seemed like it was a problem then with the spun car then from the race leader then as well. And Luke and Winnie then battling away once again, these two, as we go through then into turns 2 and 3 then on lap 26 then. 2 laps to go then after this one then. There's still 2.5 laps, 2 and a bit laps to go. Then IRS has picked up a penalty, unfortunately. That could cost him that P14 position as well here, heading into the hairpin then of sector 2 then. Rocket Lee is lining up and moving once again then for the race lead on Sirius Mushroom then. Dynamo Dan is 2.5 seconds back then from Luke. He is within the 3-second window then of Luke and Winnie actually as it stands, and so Luke could gain those 2 places on the penalty situation, and I think Luke's 10-second penalty will be removed then, but it wouldn't help then in terms of holding on to that position then from Dynamo Dan. He's on the hard compound tyres as Dynamo Dan will switch back to the tyres game, because this could be influential then in this race, as we've got Yumabro and Dukanko battling as well then through the hairpin then. Yumabro then has got himself in a bit of a battle then with his teammate as well then in terms of the penalty situation then with IRS as well then. Right then, so far so good then, onto the lead pack once again then, heading down the back straight then onto lap 27 very shortly then. Rocket Lee stays behind, yellow flags for a Haas then. It's Hungry Styles, I think, who's having an issue out there then. Hungry Styles has dropped off the field then and lets IRS and Dukanko go through then into sector 3 then. Rocket Lee then all over the back of Mushroom as we head on to lap 27 then, the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. Yellow flag then for Jinner, then Jinner's off the circuit there as well then. Goodness me, what's happened to the McLaren driver in sector 2 then as well. We'll come back to that, then we'll come back to this as well then. Goodness me, there's all sorts of action all over the field and Jin has got himself back underway then. Good stuff indeed. Hungry Styles has been passed, has dropped down behind you, Mad Bro, as well here. Not quite sure what's happening then for Jin, then he's having a few issues out here tonight. But yes, unfortunately on his first race as well of the season. But at least he is still going in this race as well, we'll have to say. But hopefully he can get himself into the pit lane potentially and go for that fastest lap of the race. Then we'll have to wait and see. Then Real Ashton has gone for the soft compound tyres as well here, which is a good call indeed actually to go for that extra point then, even if you're outside of the top of the order. Then we'll find out now. We'll find out now as well. Then we've got some serious action going on for Serious Mushroom then, who is leading the Grand Prix. He's doing a fantastic job on the hard compound tyres, but he's got pressure behind from Rocket Lee, from Dan, from Winnie, from Luke, and from Dynamo Dan in terms of the penalty situation as well. He's 2 seconds behind is Dynamo Dan then heading into the sector 2 for the penultimate time then, heading around the spoon curve for the penultimate time then onto the back straight. I've dropped my controller, but it's going to be epic stuff. Indeed, Rocket Lee's gone wide there, he's gone over my head as we go down the back straight once again then for the penultimate time. Then here comes some DRS then, Alpine, Williams, Aston Martin, then who's going to claim it? Then we'll find out very shortly. Then into the hairpin we go then, and status quo then for the time being. Oh dear, not quite, I don't know what's going on there. I think they've got themselves sorted. Look very close indeed then into the hairpin then, but they're all good as we head on to lap 28, the final lap of the Grand Prix here in China tonight. Then this is going to get epic indeed. 5 drivers then fighting for that top spot here in the in the second round of the season as well. Then it is looking good indeed then as we go through then into turns 1 and 2 then for Mushroom as he holds on then to that P1 position then into the first couple of corners as well there. My goodness me then, this is I'm gonna try and regain my breath then for the next couple of sectors then, but well, absolutely fantastic stuff indeed from Bronze, and Rocket Lee's gone deep then. That could open the door for Dan as well then into sector 2, but not quite then for the Alpine. Surely, yes, this is fantastic stuff indeed as we head into sector 2 then for the final time now as well then, and the top 5 cannot be separated at all, can they? Then it's fantastic stuff indeed to watch then as we fly through in round 2. Oh my god, there's contact there as well then. What's happening in Rocket Lee and Dan as well then, and there's more contact as well heading through then. Rocket Lee's lost the car then, he's dropped down to P3 then, I think. Has he? Yes, he has then. As we go down the inside, Rocket Lee's gone for a move then, he's got a 3-second penalty then as well then. Winnie trying to get himself past in the Aston Martin. Rocket Lee just needs to keep it calm and hold on to the places, then hold on to the positions. He doesn't need to fight too hard, but unfortunately he's dropped down to P4. Serious Mushroom leads the race then. Dan, has he got DRS then? I don't think he has. Yes, he does have DRS then, but here comes Winnie then down the straight then. Has he got a move then for the race lead? No, not quite then. Rocket Lee has steamed down the inside. He is, oh, unfortunately for Rocket Lee, it's just not gone his way then, and tonight then as well, then he's just lost it then. But Serious Mushroom is going to round the final corner. Serious Mushroom then is going to win the Chinese Grand Prix, and I think we'll take that as well then, because Serious Mushroom then has deserved the win here tonight then. Fantastic stuff indeed, and well done indeed then. Luke then P2, I believe. Oh no, we've got more problems as well then. Rocket Lee, I don't know if Rocket Lee's left the session there or not, but Rocket Lee, oh god, well, yeah, there's your order. We don't know what it is, but there we go then. I think Mushrooms won it, but I'm not quite sure then. Vintage gets P10. I think that might be P11 in the end of Corey Brennan's penalty situation as well then. P12 for Astrodron, then Ducanco P13. IRS then in P14, then where is his teammate? Then P15 for you, Mad Bro. Gets himself on the board then in terms of the points as well. Then Casey Gent is going to finish P16, then Hungry Stars P17. Real Ashton then P18, then Jenna then has gone for the fastest lap as well then on the soft compound tyres in well, it will be P18 I think in the end then, but there we go then. Casey then coming across the line then to finish off the race, and he's got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as it stands as well then. Styles then crossing the line then in P17 then. Well done Mushroom as well then, says Andy. Hungry Stars then has had a 10-second motor that's unserved, but I think, like I said, penalties will be looked at after this racing. Around the final corner goes Jinner, then Jinner's gone very wide there, but can he get the fastest lap of the Grand Prix? Yes, he can. And you've got, who have we got then? I think we've got Real Ashton then, who finishes the race in P19. Cracking stuff indeed. And there we are then. Oh, like I said, we don't have a clue what the order is, to be fair. So we've got Dan I think on P1, then Dynamo Dan P2, and Winnie then P3. I'm not quite sure what is going on here, to be honest, but we'll find out then after the race, because I have no clue. Don't know who won drive of the day though. Mushroom won drive of the day, it looks like then. So well done to Mushroom. But there we are then, looking at the celebrations then for the top 3 as well then. So yeah, not quite sure what we're going to do here. I think, like I said, Mushroom was P1. Smithy didn't have a penalty. Then Mr. Elite didn't have a penalty either. Luke didn't have a penalty. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But there's your classification somehow, some sort of classification at least for the Chinese Grand Prix. And that's that. Then Jenna got the fastest lap then on the final lap of the Grand Prix as well. Fantastic. So there we go then. We don't have a clue what's going on then in terms of the interviews and that sort of thing. So we'll just interview whoever turns up.
Hello.
We'll start off then with Dynamo Dan. Then Dynamo Dan, how was that race for yourself then, sir? Because you seem to, well, you seem to have it in the bag before the safety car then.
Sorry, my controller's disconnecting now as well. Yeah, that was interesting. That was intense until my wheel died.
Is that what happened during the on the safety car restart then? It was the wheel issues?
Yeah, literally that bend before the turn before the long straight, it just wouldn't turn, so I had to turn it off. But by then my car had already driven off into the kitty litter.
And you fought back then in the end. Like I said, I have no clue where you finished, to be fair, but you might be on the podium, you might not be, I have no idea. But you fought back in the end then as well on the hard compound tyres. I think, like you said, well, did you think that the medium compound tyres for those who did pit under the safety car were going to drop off at the end and you might have a chance?
Yeah, there's always a chance, to be fair. I wasn't actually expecting a safety car, so I was probably on the wrong tyre strategy, but it seemed to have paid off. And the safety car literally came on my pit lap anyway, but obviously with the dodgy wheel, it didn't happen.
But well, like I said, we'll have to see what the results are first to find out where you finished in the end. But if anybody got any 10-second penalties in the comments box, or if anybody in the stream still there, then make sure you get your 10-second penalties clipped up and sent into the tickets and whatnot. But nonetheless, then well, let's just say we've got 2 podiums back to back then for yourself. Then at the start of this season, on to Japan next week. Then for yourself, Dan, how are you feeling for that one? Are you going to go for 3 out of 3?
It's ambitious, but I can only try my hardest. But I'm guaranteed to get some points, I think.
Good stuff indeed then. Well, like I said, it's been a good start to your season as well. Then we'll see what comes in the next race as well then. But congratulations to wherever you finished, and we don't know, but thank you. Something good, hopefully. But yeah, well done indeed. We'll go on to whichever Dan it is next. Dan, I think it is for yourself, sir. How was that race for yourself? Like I said, I think you had a bit of a battling race then with quite a few different drivers in, and I think there was a bit of a spin in there as well. Then I'm not quite sure when, but yeah, how was that race for yourself? Then were you just trying to maximise what your result was in the end?
Yeah, exactly that. I was very surprised to kind of finish anywhere near the front. I've still got absolutely no clue where I'm actually going to finish. Everyone seemed to have 10-second penalties. I think I saw Dynamo Dan just sort of going through the gravel during the safety car, and he was ghosted. So I imagine he had an issue of some kind. And then I just saw a load of 10-second penalties. So I imagine it was for people overtaking under safety car. So that should get removed if people glip it up. So I think Serious Mushroom has got the win. So fair play to him if he has. But yeah, as far as the race goes, it was a race of 2 halves really. The hard felt terrible for me. I was just going backwards and backwards. I think I was 10th or something at one point, and I was just at the back of endless queues of cars in DRS chains. It was totally my fault. I had a little clip on the back of Luke's rear wheel, spun me round. I managed to catch it just about, but I lost a couple of extra positions for that. So it was just about consolidating. I would have been happy with anything at that point. And then the safety car came back and bunched everyone up, and that just allowed me to go on the medium with lighter fuel and just sort of battle through. And it was very interesting towards the end. It was pretty chaotic, so it was good fun towards the last 5 laps or so.
And like you said, we have no idea where you finished really, but it was somewhere in the top of the order. And you finished P4 last week as well. Then sort of challenging them for the podium tonight. Hopefully, we'll wait and see. But what's your thoughts then for Japan? Then are you trying to kick on then and go for more then in the next race?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this last week wasn't a great start for me. I thought I could have done better. But China's not one of my favourites, neither is Japan. So if I can just get podiums or close to them, then I'll take that for a start of the season, and then we'll just kick on with some of the tracks where I think I'm quicker at, or certainly favoured tracks. So that's the idea: to stay in and amongst it, and try not to capitulate like I managed to do last season, where the middle of the season just cost me dire. I think I picked up barely any points at some across 4 or 5 races in a row. So just keep consistent, pick up points every race, and see where it takes me towards the end.
Sounds like a plan then. And on your earlier point then, I don't know anybody who likes China, to be fair, so yeah, that doesn't matter. Get it off.
Yeah.
But yeah, no worries. Good stuff indeed then from Dan as well then, and like I said, hopefully we'll see him back then for the podium in Japan in a week's time then. Mushroom, are you there? I want to hear the Derby twang.
Yeah, just.
He's just there then.
He's just there then. Fantastic. COVID then as well, and you got a race win potentially under your belt. Yeah, I took a picture of the race director. I don't know whether it says the 10 seconds on it. I just did it dead quick.
Well, hopefully it'll be enough. Nonetheless, then we'll get it sorted after the race itself, but after the event itself. Anyway, let's just say with cracking stuff indeed from yourself. You were battling the top 3, both Dynamo Dan and Rocket Lee then in the beginning of that first stint there, and it looked like you might have been on the cards for a race win anyway. Yeah, I was aiming for it anyway, to be honest with you, because I've got quite a good pace around China, so I just thought, we found someone who likes China. Never mind. I just needed to say that. Indeed, then on the hard compound tyres after the safety car, of course, that safety car came out at the right time for those who started on the medium. I would say. What was your thoughts when the safety car did come out? Yeah, it was definitely exactly the right time. I was thinking about going another lap, but then the car was sliding everywhere, so getting onto the hards, it was a completely different car. And you held on then for the race win. It was a fantastic battle then with yourself and the rest of the top 5 then in the last few laps there as well. Then did you think you might be under threat then, or did you have it in the bag? No, I kind of thought I'd be under threat actually, because I can't remember his name now. Behind me, my head spinning. The one that was behind me. There's quite a few behind you, to be fair. Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought he was always going to have a go at me going down the back straight. So, and then coming on to the last lap, I heard like cars touching. I looked back and I thought they've dropped too far back now, so they're fighting. So I'm just going to push. And it got you the race win in the end. I believe I've just seen in the Discord that the 10-second penalties will be removed for everybody who got a 10-second penalty as well. Then, so I think that's confirmed the race win then for yourself then as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed. Can we see some more race wins from Mushroom then in the rest of the season? If I get COVID again, you might. In that case, you've got to keep getting it then, because you've done a brilliant job tonight. Absolutely smashed it tonight for Mushroom, and well done indeed. Cheers, mate. And we'll wrap it up there then. Fantastic from Bronze tonight. Will be next time for Japan in Bronze Season 9. Of course, gold will take us through Japan then before silver then on Sunday and Monday as well then. So stay tuned to ALR. There's plenty more action coming up then, and we'll see you very soon.